My first Sunday at St. Clement's 13 years ago was Welcome Back Sunday. And yes, there was a bouncy castle. After the service, my son, then 2 years old, asked me an important question. "Dad, is there a bouncy castle every week?" And I had to tell him the hard truth. No, there is not a bouncy castle every week. And of the many hard lessons to be learned in church, this is one of the hardest. There are no bouncy castles every week. Large crowds had begun to travel with Jesus, following him along his ministry and his way. Some hung on for the miracles, some for the entertainment, some for the sense of camaraderie, some for the anticipation of what he would do next, some because they had nothing better to do. And if they didn't dare ask it aloud, the crowd was wondering nonetheless, are there bouncy castles every week? Jesus' response, loosely translated from the Aramaic, is, there are no bouncy castles every week. What he actually said was this: whoever comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, cannot be my disciple. At first blush, Jesus' words here are nonsensical, crazy-making. The one who told us to love our neighbors as ourselves, even to love our enemies, how could it be that he's now asking us to hate those closest to us? There are at least three things at play here. One, Jesus is a master communicator, as adept as any stand-up comic at getting your attention and holding it for an hour. The bigger the crowd, the larger the gesture required to do that. Two, check yourself for how you interpret the word hate. The expression here means nothing like how we use the words, "I hate you." Similarly, hating one's life is absolutely not a spiritual justification for self-loathing. Rather, hate here is a Semitic expression. It connotes total detachment. It means to renounce the supremacy of what we hold dear. One commentator writes, "What is demanded of disciples is that in the network of many loyalties in which all of us live, the claim of Christ and the gospel not only takes precedence, but in fact redefines all the others." 3, Jesus is responding to the enthusiasm of a crowd who is completely unaware that the road they're following him on leads to suffering and a cross. His words are a caution, says that same commentator, against unreflective enthusiasm. It's as though Jesus is saying to that large crowd, think about what you're doing and decide if you are willing to stay with me all the way. This is the meaning of Jesus' back-to-back analogies that have to do with counting the cost. The first, of the rural poor who might build a small tower in their vineyard from which to look out and keep away thieves and wild animals. The second, of the wealthy who decide the fate of others through their tariffs and their policies and their armies. Whoever you are, Jesus says, rich, poor, rural, urban, you'd better sit down to tally up the cost of what it's going to take to build that tower or start that war. Do you really have what it's going to take to get to the other end of that? Because bouncy castles and cupcakes are a great way to start the journey. but they will not get you through safely to the other side. Only Jesus can do that. Why are you here today? Why am I? The coffee is better from your local barista. The amenities are better at the Granite Club. Your office has air conditioning. There are more young adults at the bar. The resort is all-inclusive. Your cottage has a better view. The retirement home has more comprehensive care. The pay is better on Bay Street. The pastors are slicker on TV. The youth are more filtered on TikTok. The results are faster with AI. And so I ask you again, why are you here today? Why am I? I'll venture a guess. You and I are here because God is here. Or to put it more theologically, it's here in these stories, these words, these songs, these prayers that we are reminded that God is out there too. Because you could be forgiven and excused for struggling to find Jesus out there. Through tariffs and tyrants, climate anxiety and social anxiety, recessions and regressions, illness and despair, it can be really tough to see God at work. For the bouncy castle is great on day one. But you and I both know that what goes up must come down, and sometimes we land further down than the place that we started from. This is what Jesus was saying to the large crowd trying to follow him 2,000 years ago. To follow him is to be downwardly mobile. To be a disciple of Jesus is to let go of pretending that we're in control. It is to give to God those people and those things that, if we're honest, we use and grasp to help us feel in control, so that we can free them and ourselves to be open to God's will and work in our lives. A few Sundays ago, a parishioner shared with me a prayer that she'd found helpful. It was from the Roman Catholic tradition and called a novena. It's a prayer you say daily for 9 days. Each of the 9 days had a very brief meditation, no more than a sentence or two, and the meditation was framed as an address from Jesus to the soul. And for this, I was reminded, is the place to which God most truly and directly speaks our souls. Each day of the novena concluded with the following sentence or refrain, which was to be spoken 10 times. "O Jesus, I surrender myself to you. Take care of everything. Take care of my father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, and my own life too." And what I can tell you from praying this prayer daily for 9 days is that nothing happened. If anything, those 9 days were harder than the ones that preceded the prayer. My circumstances didn't improve at all. And yet, through that prayer, I got to practice in a micro way detachment and renunciation. To practice saying out loud to an audience of one that I am not in control. To admit for 10 brief refrains that the times I tried to be weren't turning out so great. Today, churches around the world are marking the start of the season of creation. It's a journey we at St. Clement's will be walking from now till Thanksgiving. And I'd like to begin that walk by practicing saying out loud, God is in control. Climate change can feel overwhelming. Hopelessness and fear can become like a drug that dulls our ability to respond or feel. And so perhaps we might begin, as that faithful parishioner encouraged me, by surrendering. Oh, Jesus, I surrender myself to you. Take care of everything. Your prayer will not end climate change. It may not result in anything at all. But it might begin to shift your mindset from seeking a little more control to one of giving up a little. For it's precisely the mindset of being in control and assuming we ever could be that got us into this mess to begin with. For we wanted to control that which fundamentally cannot be controlled or possessed, creation itself. As we begin this season and this fall, in the face of so much uncertainty out there and in here, let us remember that God is here. Let us practice surrendering to the one who is in control. Amen.